LNG versus RNG right off the bat. Some pretty expected bans here. The Camille Akali ban coming out, targeting out Ale. Those are, of course, his main two played champions. Meanwhile, on the side of LNG, taking the Lee Sin away from Xiaohu. It looks like RNG now taking a page out of OMG's book, going with the Rumble. There is still, let me see, what is still available? For the top picks, there's still the 80 carry pool available, I suppose. Varus and Ezreal are both hotly contested picks for both of these champions, but it looks like Set is the eventual pick. This is a flex between top and mid. Don't really see Xiaohu picking too much Set, honestly, but I'm kind of surprised that he opted for the Set, considering the fact that the likes of Gwen is still available and on the table. Set, of course, adds very much to a dive composition, which RNG seem very much like they are going to go for. Light looking for the Jinx as well as Thresh, pretty much instantly locked in. Jinx is Light's second most played champion, and Thresh really, it just has, you kind of have to get, kind of have to get go with it. You kind of have to have a Thresh to go with the Jinx. Light is of course the fourth highest farmer in the LPL at about 9.5 CS a minute on average. So really getting to the late game, give the man his time, and he will get you your items and he will win you your game as the eventual Gwen lock-in comes in as well. RNG, the second rounds of bans, can look to ban out jungles as well as probably mid laners. Of course, Lee Sin can flex as well, as Xin Zhao is the target here. Xin Zhao is, of course, Tarzan's most played champion, and I'm surprised though that, considering the Karma Xin Zhao pick is like one of the most common flexes for LNG, because of course Karma can be played in the top, mid, and bot lane. Varus ban coming out as well. That leaves the Ezreal up, which LNG can look to ban out in the last ban. On the side of RNG, perhaps we will be seeing a LeBlanc ban here, maybe a Sylas or a Ryze, targeting the mid lane a little bit more. They could, of course, look to ban out Diana and Udyr, but the jungle champion pool at this point is just too large. It wouldn't really match. Diana and Udyr not super good. I mean, Udyr would be pretty good here as they look to ban out the Wukong eventually. Not wanting to give Ale a Wukong, I suppose, though it is really not one of his most played champions. He really plays more on the Camille Akali and the Gwen, which means it's going to be very interesting and exciting to see what he goes for here. RNG can look to pick Lucian and send Set to the mid lane, but their composition will be kind of wonky, truth be told. Wouldn't be surprised to see an Ezreal. I was gonna say an Ezreal here. I like the Kai'Sa ban coming out from LNG. This is probably going to be an Ezreal coming out from RNG if we're going to be completely honest, unless there's no way it's gonna be a Kalista Lulu. On the side of LNG, let's see. Maybe we see a LeBlanc, a Sylas, a Ryze. We could also see probably an Udyr coming out here from Tarzan. They have a lot of AD. Honestly, a Nidalee wouldn't be bad. Diana wouldn't be bad. And Lilia, I wouldn't be surprised to see that either. We don't get to see so much Lilia nowadays. A little bit more of a farm-centric jungle. And Fizz, that would be a very interesting pick. Chances are, though, that this will be a LeBlanc. Xerath, we've only seen, I think, one of those so far, and it's done well. I know Showmaker played it in LCK. If it gets to the late game, you're pretty much unstoppable. It looks like the Lucian is being hovered. Perhaps they believe more than enough in Tarzan's AP damage in the jungle, as the Lucian is eventually locked in. Interesting to see what RNG go for down here. They could go for the Kog'Maw theoretically. The only real threat is the Diana as well as the Lee Sin, and some say that could be enough as Kog'Maw is locked in. RNG going for a little bit of a protect, kite back kind of composition. The set doesn't really add too much into it if you ask me, but what else could he really have picked? I suppose Gwen is one of the best picks. I mean, Xiaohu so far has been pretty much 3-tricking Viego, Gwen, and Lee Sin at this point in time. I'm pretty sure he would have preferred to be Lee Sin in this situation, but LNG showing him the respect he deserves, having his first year in his first year at the top lane. Honestly, Xiaohu I think has done a fantastic job. RNG have really done a lot to ease his transition into being a top laner. They've given him a lot of support. They showed him a lot of tension up towards the top lane. Now let's see what happens here. Let's see if Ale can bring it to him now in game 1 of LNG versus RNG. Looking at both the compositions, two hyper scaling AD carries in the bottom lane. Don't expect there to be too much action down there. Really, both the supports are kind of locked into lane as well. Not so much roaming is to be expected. Lulu, not really a playmaker. Thresh, although you can be a playmaker, you really can't leave Jinx alone down in the bottom lane. Looking at both the junglers, both team fighting AP junglers just looking to farm until 6 pretty much. Diana, I would say, has a bit of ease of ganking. I mean, Rumble does as well with the Electro Harpoons. Diana has her dash. Gank wise, not so strong. In the top lane, we have a Lee Sin up against a Gwen. Not too much action going on there as well. This is the most potential for action, not a hyper volatile lane either. Both champions immensely mobile, have tons of sustain. Definitely Ale is a little bit stronger in the beginning, so it looks like most of the action is going to be towards this mid lane where you see Icon versus Crying. Not two of the most explosive, volatile, or exciting mid laners, but they tend to get the job done. I'm kind of surprised that Icon didn't opt for the Rise here because that is one of his most played champions, and Rise, of course, I think fits very well into this composition. Perhaps he didn't want to stack too much, give too much value to the Merc threads. Crying on his set will have the sustain from Fleet Footwork, and will also have the Haymaker shield to just shove wave after wave. Mid priority will be in favor of LNG, however, which means that although we don't expect to see too much action in the early game, LNG will have a little bit more wiggle room to get some things done, as Ale now about to be face checked by Xiao, who actually opts to run away from him. Because for those of you who don't know, Gwen's level 1 with her E is immensely powerful. One snip after her E and her cooldown is cut in half. She's got the mobility, she deals additional damage, she's got extended range, and her passive sustains her as well, while giving you a little bit of a bleed. All things considered, she's exceptionally powerful early in level 1, especially in level 1. And against melee that's a really nice Kog'Maw skin, come to think of it. There's a little bit of trading going on. Both the Guardians have procced really. That's about as much action as we can expect here. The only way this bot lane really explodes into a color of action, into a bright burst of action, is if Iwandi manages to hit multiple nice death sentences. Heal is the summer spell of choice coming out from both the AD carries. Really nothing to cleanse in this game. All kind of makes sense. I'm a little bit surprised though, if we're going to be completely honest, that Gala didn't opt for barrier and have Ming take the heal. You know, that's possible. It's not a bad choice, I think. The exhaust will be amazing though when the Diana jumps in, if she gets like a huge moonfall, in which case the exhaust will be extremely good. As level 2 does get hit in the top side, allowing Ali to just step forward a little bit more. But Xiaohu trading pretty aggressively. Looks like we were right, people. This is going to be the most exciting lane. And as if I need to say any more, there we go. Look at that. Level 2 to level 2. Lee Sin really stood no chance. He will have to sustain from his safeguard, of course, and Iron Will. But he does need to be able to touch the wave for that. And that's one of the things. Gwen against other melee champions is so gross, because she just stacks freely her Q. She just stacks her Q freely onto the wave, and you really just can't step up. She'll just jump in and give you a little bit off the top. Just take a little bit off the top. And honestly, what can you do in this kind of situation? Tarzan going for a almost full clear into bot side river as Gala gets hit up by a death sentence ignited up. Flay has not come out yet. Don't think it's available. Perhaps he took the lantern instead, and Gala, luckily for him, is able to waddle out of that fight. Both heal and exhaust were used. The wave is pretty big, so now in comes Tarzan towards the bottom lane. Wei is not in the area. RNG need to give up this bot side, but look, they try to flash into the tower. Death sentence lands onto Ming. That's not the target they want, and they instantly leave as soon as the teleport arrives. It is Xiaohu. Not much CC available as flash is going to have to be used by Tarzan. Flashes over the wall. Ignite is ticking as Ming flashes over, uses the help picks to finish off the kill. Beautifully done here, very nice. And although Xiaohu did have to give up his pressure in the top side, I do believe the wave crashed, and this is a bouncing wave which he will lose most of to tower, but he did pick his team up a kill across the board. More importantly though, he did not allow LNG to deny his win condition some farm, which of course is the most important thing. Close call there for RNG, nearly having their win condition absolutely decimated in this early game. That hook from Iwandi, I think, just changed the pace of the game, changed the tempo, changed the idea that LNG had when Tarzan entered the river. I think he was just going for Scuttle Crab, and then once that hook landed, once that trade went so heavily in favor of Light and Iwandi, he was like, alright guys, It's a waste if we don't use it. This is a dive coming in hot and heavy. So a little bit more action than we expected off the bat. Bit of a gold lead also has been acquired by RNG as Tarzan makes his way towards bot side again. Death Sentence lands onto Ming, who does not have flash this time and will be taken out. Looks like Tarzan just put in an opportune situation time after time in this bot lane. So far, Iwandi and Light doing a fantastic job freezing the wave in an opportune situation, calling in the gank Tarzan. They probably didn't expect him to be here. Probably expected him to be farming up his top side camps. As in the mid lane, Crying is just suffering over there, about nearly double the CS of Crying. Icon sitting very comfortably in full control of this mid lane as Crying just loses yet another minion to the tower. But in the top side, Ali can completely empathize with him, I think, as he's just absolutely being bullied off of the wave. Such is the nature, it seems, of the Gwen Lee Sin matchup. Such is the nature of the Gwen any melee champion matchup, I do believe, as she just absolutely just controls the lane. That champion is slightly overpowered right now, some would say. Some might argue. As Tarzan now making his way up towards the top lane, has just hit level 5, is about, I think like 4 camps off of being level 6, and looks like Ale now with help. Xiaohu does have his W, however, as a nice flash kick comes in. Tarzan will not have the ultimate to come in and nearly gets turned on there by Xiaohu. I think there's one more charge of his ultimate was available, but he was not able to use it. I think too much damage coming out as Crying just making a beeline for the wave. Icon sliding away. What the heck was that? I'm not quite sure what happened over there, but flash coming out, Showstopper coming in, bringing Icon into Wei. And just like that, traded across the board. Nice reaction from RNG. They're even going to secure themselves a nice little scuttle crab. Wei is level 6 already to Tarzan's just fresh level 5, which shows you Wei, despite the fact that he has not been able to get any ganks off, is still very comfortably ahead in terms of experience as a result. Gala stepping forth quite aggressively there. It's just the green. That's just the green Kog'Maw skin. The green Kog'Maw skin's W animation looks amazing, by the way. Now, Wei is making his way towards the bot side. Will they attempt for this dragon? There really isn't anything else here. They could also be looking for a gank, I suppose, but you don't have the greatest setup with a Lulu Kog'Maw lane. However, nothing is really won. Iwandi now stepping into danger, gets the equalizer dropped on top of him, does not have flash. Flay comes out, Death Sentence just to buy time for Light to get some damage traded across, and a roam down towards bot side for Wei leads to a kill. Better return of investment compared to Tarzan, if you look at it, who had to actually use 2 ganks to get a single kill. All in all, RNG, I think, in a very comfortable position. Gold is even across the board. Now let's see, in a late game situation, who really has the advantage? So RNG has got a tank in Crying, who after the Strike Breaker, I'm pretty sure, is going to be going for full tank. They've got a Bruiser on the side of LNG in the form of Ale, and that's really the only form of tankiness. But Tarzan can cause huge disruption in team fights. So, okay, team fighting, if we're talking about team fighting tools, I would say RNG have a slight advantage. Now, if we're talking about frontline, I would say LNG have a slight advantage. Not a huge one, because you don't really have Bruiser Lee Sin, especially when the game goes later on, cannot really hold a candle up to the damage output of a Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw's going to shred you to pieces. He's going to just absolutely mince you up. The thing is, though, the Diana is a huge threat, so there's a lot more pressure coming out from the likes of RNG. That being said, they do have double AD carry composition, which means late game wise, I don't know. I really don't know. It's pretty even, I think, across the board. Anyways, LNG rotating their bot lane up in preparation for this Rift Herald perma mid priority, thanks to Icon's range advantage, means that this Rift Herald is probably going to go in favor of LNG. No flash is available for Crying, who tanks up a majority of the culling. Does have his Haymaker to tank that up. As Wei is in the area, Equalizer dropped onto Iwandi, and Iwandi brings Light into the safety. Chompers are dropped, Death Sentence goes wide, and the Rift Herald goes handily in favor of LNG. There's really nothing to fight for. Not too surprising that LNG got it. They were in a better position to start it off anyways. At this point, it's kind of interesting to see both teams make plays. It's nice to see that they both have scaling compositions, but with a little bit more strength in the mid lane, quite a bit more actually, and that one wave of top priority, LNG just take the opportunity, seize the moment, and absolutely just run away with a free Rift Herald, which I mean probably we will be using down mid lane, crying in spite of how he's down in terms of gold. It's probably very even in terms of XP, and he's only 500 gold down. About 500 gold down, it's about kill and a half, kill in 2/3, but most importantly, he has not allowed Icon to touch his tower, means Rift Herald will not immediately lead to the death of his tower. Xiaohu in the top side off of the bot lane teleport roams has not been able to catch up with Ali in terms of CS, but so far, let's look at the items. We have Merc Threads coming out from Ali, one item into the top jungle duo, also help him from the stun coming out of Crying. Culling now, the Cull, sorry. Cull is nearly completed by Icon. He's only 2 stacks off. We'll have it completed by the end of this wave. 80 carries matching in terms of CS. Gold-wise, they are exactly matching as well. And across the board, everything is even. Ale actually has secured himself a little bit more gold than Xiaohu, off more than just the CS, but also a tower plating and a kill. Of course, from that gank from Tarzan. Tarzan so far has been a little bit more proactive on the map than Wei. Wei has dropped a couple good equalizers so far. So let's see. We're just heading as we are slowly not really barreling. We're slowly inching towards the mid game where we'll see a bit more explosive action. I do believe that LNG hit their stride a little bit earlier than RNG does, of course, off the fact that Icon being a ranged carry, while Set has not the easiest of times getting on top of him. Flash is going to be available for Crying. In fact, every member of every team will have every summoner spell available at this point in time. As soon as Crying's Flash comes off of cooldown, you bet that LNG have that on timer. Now, Wei is entering now, will have Equalize available, just playing a little bit off towards the shadows. Tarzan is in the area, however, as Icon just baiting, gets altered back into the towers. In comes the Moonfall. Wei nearly taken out completely as Crying goes for the Haymaker onto Icon. He didn't have his flash. He flashed and tried to ult backwards as Wei takes a Super Mega Death Rocket to the face. Equalizer is dropped onto the wave to try and clear it out as much as possible. Tarzan, having only a Rocket Belt, is actually dealing some decent damage to Crying with his Crescent Strikes. Now Tarzan is looking still for Wei, who's opted to recall, and looks like the siege of mid lane continues. Crying missing his face breaker means he loses a lot of pressure when he steps up. Does manage to finish off the Rift Herald. In the bot side, looks like there's a bit of a fight for who gets to enter river first, as Light and Iwandi holding Gala and Ming at bay. Top lane, there's not too much action as well. Scuttlecrack will go in favor of Tarzan, and a short scuffle later. Nice little counter again coming in from Tarzan as though he identified very clearly as Gala gets hit by the Chomper's death sentence as well as a flame, but he just holds his ground with the wild growth as well as the shields coming out from Ming, able to just stand in front of all the damage that Light and Iwandi has to put out. Exhaust and heal were used, as actually every combative summoner spell was used by either of the duo. Now let's see which jungler comes down to impact the fight more. It looks like actually I was wrong, as Icon is making his way down. Tarzan on his heels. Looks like they see an opportunity. Will be spotted out on that ward, however. Xiaohu is kind of low, but Wei is in the area as well. Looks like LNG scaring off their opponents will just be able to take back their jungle, take some stuff in their jungle. I'm not even sure what I'm saying. Okay, focus. Now, a roam is coming in from Iwandi. Looks like he had nothing to recall for. Light was the one who took the brunt of the damage, getting some deep vision in the bot side of RNG's base. 1 minute and 15 seconds until the next dragon. Second Rift Herald will not be spawned anytime near that. So we'll still have a bit of time for each of the carries to wring out as much gold as they can from wherever they can. Ming and Gala so far have been playing pretty well. Unfortunately, Gala has been tanking a lot of the hooks, but that is kind of a necessity. If you had to choose between Gala or Ming tanking a hook, in this situation, you definitely want Gala to be the one tanking the hook. Unfortunately, it would be a better situation if nobody tanked the hook, as Wei was actually standing right next to a wall. It looks like Xiao was about to be ganked here by both Ale and Tarzan. Teleport is available from Crying if he opts to use it. Xiaohu needs to drop a ward soon though, as teleport is coming. Crying teleporting onto the wave near the tower, as Xiaohu using his ultimate to sustain up as much as possible with the showstopper, bringing Ale further from the tower as possible as he tries to flash away, gets snipped down eventually by Xiaohu. Nice response coming in from RNG. Icon with his teleport nearly off of cooldown as as yet another equalizer is dropped on the mid-wave icon. His ability to push completely neutralized as RNG now start battering down this top tower. Dragon is spawning in 9 seconds time, but Tarzan, being in base, will not be able to immediately pounce on it. He is motioning down towards it, however, as it looks like Wei just quickly starts it up. Will RNG be able to make a play here? This is 2 plays across the map simultaneously. It's not so good as Iwandi is walking into perfect position to land a death sentence. Looks like he just goes for the blast plant instead, just wanting to push them away from it. Wait for Tarzan to get into the area. Icon will now begin to siege down this tower. It looks like it will fall. RNG did claim first tower of the game, but LNG do claim the ever so important mid lane tier 3 tower, while the rest of the team does claim dragon as well. So wins across the board for either team. RNG get a kill and a tower, while LNG get a tower and a dragon. About even. Now, Rift Herald has spawned. River Vision is heavily in favor of LNG as a fight does break out here. Gala gets flashed on and it looks like Iwani's just going to sacrifice his life as in comes both Icon and Ale. I did not expect that. I thought it was just going to be one of them as Ming just scuttles away. Does have the movement speed of his Whimsy and will be able to get out of that. And RNG, I'm not sure if that was worth it. They do set Gala a little bit far behind. They do set Gala behind and set Light ahead, which is the win condition for either team, but Wade does secure himself a Rift Herald, which I suppose beyond 14 minutes, which is the point that we are at now, doesn't mean as much, because tower plating, of course, has fallen. LNG trading across the map, I think it's pretty worth it for LNG, come to think of it. They get a kill, they shut down the enemy's win condition, and they get more gold onto their own win condition at the cost of a outdated, at this point, an antiquated Rift Herald. Xiaohu now is still actually struggling a little bit with Ale up in the top lane. With God Drinker now, Ale is able to sustain a little bit more, as Xiaohu with Riftmaker will win prolonged trades. So I see Ale getting his damage in and just forcing Xiaohu away from the fight, despite Vision being heavily in favor of LNG. Okay, I see what happened here. Both of them sidestepping. Even the chompers are missing, and Gala just sees an opportunity. Unfortunately, once the Flash Flay comes in, he knows that there's really nothing for it but to try and turn and get as much damage out as possible. Not expecting the double teleport coming in from LNG. Making cross-map plays, I respect that. Both teams playing so far pretty phenomenally. It looks like the pressure is going to continue in the bottom lane. Now, with Crying having rotated down, little does he know Tarzan is in the area standing on a blue wall. Not sure if that ward in the bush at the Dragon Pit spotted him out. Ming, however, is about to face check into Tarzan. Oh ho ho ho! I'm pretty sure Tarzan was going to one-shot him, yeah, but thankfully Tarzan, not knowing where the rest of RNG is, could not take the shot because Ming's life is not worth more than his at this point in time. We're not at that stage yet as Xiao, who looks to be collapsed now onto by both Light and Iwandi, needs to be careful, pushes out the wave and then scurries back to his tower as Equalizer is dropped onto Icon in the bot lane. Crying did have flash, did not opt to use it. At this point, Icon is so hard to catch. He's got 3 mobility spells when he has flash up as well. It looks like Gala and Ming in the mid lane might be a little bit far up. Tarzan going for the surround as the chompers go down, pushing Gala into Tarzan, but the exhaust does come down. Gala flashing away from a very nice death sentence, unfortunately, into the waiting arms of Icon, who just lands in the area as well. Here we go, another 4-man towards the win condition of RNG. As well as they are playing across the board, I must say RNG are kind of neglecting their Kog'Maw a little bit too much, and they might be punished for it quite severely in the top lane, as Icon is just being jumped onto here by Wei, who does not have his flash, nor does he have his equalizer available. Flash for flash across the jungle and mid lane of RNG and LNG. As in top side, Tarzan is in the area. Looks like Xiaohu's gonna have to take this fight if he wants to attempt anything. Moonfall is not available for Tarzan. That's the only benefit. The Riftmaker is fully taking. Ultimate is coming out from Xiaohu, sustaining so much, actually getting his ultimate onto both Ale as well as Tarzan. Looks like Iwandi coming in the area with Light as well will eventually lead to another death, as LNG are just rotating 4-person death balls everywhere. The entire mafia of LNG is just pulling up, and RNG right now are looking too split for anything to happen. A cheeky Rift Herald is dropped in the mid lane with LNG's absence, as a result of LNG's absence, and it will just chunk the tower to half right now. LNG just out-rotating RNG perfectly. Ale and Tarzan having a hard time with Xiaohu, and it's only going to get worse, I suppose, as soon as he finishes his Zhonya's. There is a lot of AD damage on the side of LNG, and I do suppose Zhonya's will be semi-useful. I think I might have preferred to see Okay, well, the problem is that Xiaohu is going to have a really hard time catching up to Icon and Light with the amount of mobility that Icon has from his three triple mobility items and abilities, as well as the fact that Light will have a perpetual I1D next to him. The Thresh Flay, the box, as well as the Lantern are going to prove to be extremely annoying. 36 seconds before the next dragon. Let's take a quick check on the items. We're even across the board in terms of kills. One tower ahead for LNG, which equates to about 2,000 gold advantage apparently. As we look at the CS, huge CS lead in the mid lane, everything else is pretty much even Steven. Light might be 3 assists up, but Gala has 2 kills in spite of his 2 deaths and seems very much on pace in terms of items as compared to Light. Now let's see how the fights unfold. Summoner spells available. Teleports will all be available. That's why we see Ale up in the bot lane, down in the bot lane, sorry. Baron is going to be spawning as well as like RNG with a 5-man ball over here are much stronger, but Gala stepping out way too far. Oh my god, that win condition just nearly ran it down. RNG actually kind of caught out of position as Ming's forced to use the Shredder's battle song over there. Now Ale has a nice flank going on RNG. If they do not spot him, this could be extremely dangerous. He can just kick Gala into the team. In fact, he kicks way into his own team, and now Ale is in the front lines in front of a Kog'Maw, not at all where you want to be. Him getting chunked out means I think the LNG will need to give this up. This is only the 3rd dragon of the game. It's not that important, but looks like Tarzan with his ultimate is feeling quite cocky. Xiaohu is trying to finish off the dragon as it gets stolen away by the smite. Trying to look for a way in, but in comes the Moonfall onto 3. Gala in the front line sets called as well. Ming completely low is going to be taken down as Xiaohu finds himself in a 1v2 situation. Ming trying his best to give him as much shields as possible. Ale going for Ming in the backlines. Xiaohu will not have the mobility as a flash in from Light, finishing off Ming with the rocket damage, and absolute catastrophe unfolds. Tarzan taking everything from RNG, taking the dragon, taking the kills. Gala, I mean, what can you do? You're supposed to frontline as a Kog'Maw with a Lulu on your 6, but at this point, what can you do is you frontline into the Moonfall and the culling and the damage coming out from Light. I suppose I was wrong, ladies and gentlemen, as LNG's composition just seems so much easier to execute than RNG's does at this point. The mobility of the mid laner, it just makes it so he can poke forward. Look at him. Icon is completely fearless in the face of Crying. Crying really can do nothing as the smite comes down a little bit too early from Wei. Crying trying to step forward, but they just cut and boom. Oh, huge. Xiaohu the only one managing to get out of that Moonfall, but really it does not do anything for his team as Crying in the backline is just chasing after Icon. That's really the theme of his entire game so far, in lane, in the game, in the team fights, and Light just seeing his opportunities, seeing them grouped up. Not really sure if it was worth the flash, if we're going to be completely honest, but so far Light has been completely unthreatened in almost every situation we've been in. Up until the 22-minute mark, Light has been chilling like a villain. And right now, having finished his Phantom Dancer, working towards his Infinity Edge, all things considered, Gala is definitely behind in terms of gold at this point. He's 2 levels down onto Light, who is also... Whoa. Sorry, let me see. Yeah, so far XP leads across the board for LNG. They're just massively ahead at this point in time. 6,000 gold ahead, as well as in terms of experience. There's really nothing to say about it. LNG in the driver's seat with 2 compositions that are almost exactly the same, with as in like a hyper scaling fed AD carry bot. But LNG just have more damage across the board. They've got Icon, the mobility he has, as well as keeping himself completely safe. Tarzan, huge teamfight presence, as is Ale, who can just go Drinker and use his E to do so much AoE damage. We saw him just whiff his kick there completely. Doesn't even matter. So at this point, RNG really, there's not too much hope for them, I think. LNG, they are just a stronger composition altogether. Look, Crying just stepping forward, and Gala is the one stepping up to him now, flashing after him. Walks right into the chompers. Tarzan does have an avenue to jump in as Equalizer is dropped on him. Crying now with the Stride Breaker. Stride Breaker still has his dash in this situation as Crying actually nearly brings, oh no, Tarzan into his team. Tarzan seeing the opportunity, using the Moonfall, finally goes down, but Light is just wailing onto the rest of RNG from the backlines, completely untouched as Gala is alive, but Ming is not. Crying left to dry. Ali chasing after Gala with all that he is worth, but Xiaohu just trying to peel him off as much as possible, and Crying really inting that fight over there with that showstopper, bringing Diana closer into his team, and as a result, the fight ends with Gala's death. Light completely untouched yet again for the entirety of that fight. He still has his heal available. He blew his flash just now, it's nearly off cooldown, didn't even need it. Really didn't even need it. Tarzan just blowing up his team and somehow nearly having enough sustain from I'm not even sure where to walk out of that fight. Let's just see what happens here. I mean, that catastrophe that unfolded before our eyes was just was all inspiring. Let's see. Okay, Icon going a bit far here, using a lot of his mobility spells forward, and then Gala just seeing his opportunity to open up, trying to skirt edges of the chompers, didn't really make it. And then in this situation, let's see, crying. I mean, they just don't have CC. I guess that's the problem. He sees his opportunity, and then Tarzan's just like, "Oh, thanks for the opening. I'm just gonna use it to blow up the rest of your team." And then Ale is just assassinates Ming, and at this point, you've got Light just completely free hitting. You've got no one who's gonna be able to get on top of him. I mean, Crying gets on top of him eventually because of the flay, but at that kind of HP, you're no threat to anybody. Nice little death sentence seals the deal. Really nothing too much more to it. So if it wasn't set in stone previously, I'm pretty sure it's set in stone now. RNG are gonna need some fantastic team fighting. LNG are gonna be caught, need to get picked and maybe caught extremely out of position. So far, sidewave management hasn't been something I've been keeping too much attention on really with this kind of composition. It looks like both teams just want to group up as much as possible and just run at each other. In which case, RNG are in a really terrible spot because Ale has the ability to push a little bit faster than Xiaohu with his E as well as with his God Drinker. Just an E God Drinker on the wave and it's nearly instantly gone. It looks like LNG in position for this dragon will be soul point for them. RNG no better than to attempt to fight. They need more items on to Gala, and I really don't know what else they need. Probably a Mikhail's Crucible for Ming. Seeing as to how often Gala is just put in positions where he needs to step on chompers or he gets hit by a death sentence. As the siege continues in the bot lane, LNG just absolutely relentless with their pressure. Know they have the range advantage at least and will take down this tier 2 bot tower as soon as they secure dragon as well. That bot lane push coming in from Ale used to maximum efficiency. Really, Tarzan doesn't have like a huge AP item, but apparently he doesn't need it. It looks like the rest of RNG are just squishy enough that his ultimate comes in absolutely just blows everybody up. And so far, Tarzan's just been creating so much pressure. It's kind of insane how what he can do for his team. The other day in solo queue, I actually went up against a bruiser Diana, and she actually did a decent amount of damage. Now RNG beating a hasty retreat don't even have the pressure necessary to secure themselves mid priority, which means they have no way they can set up vision for Baron. LNG in full control of the map in this case. Side waves are pushing towards RNG by the looks of it. Two quick balls are forming, so both teams are losing gold at about the same pace, but in the long run, LNG will have their bot wave crashing, I think, even though it just bounced. It's kind of odd. It's kind of odd how everything works nowadays, and XP lead is still heavily in favor of LNG as Xiao, who gets jumped on by a sonic wave, standing his ground with his W, but Tarzan's got a flank on to three members, flashing after way, blowing him up with the moonfall, but Gala's complete untouched as he takes down Icon in the front lines. Xiaohu split off from his team, a little 1v1 going on from the top laners right down there below the screen as Xiaohu's ultimate does kind of get whiffed. Gala managing to didn't even need to actually. Managing to walk out of that moonfall. Nice predict by Tarzan, jumping onto Wei and then predicting his flash, flashing after him, using his ultimate and blowing out Crying. Did I say that RNG had a better front line? I take it back. I absolutely take it back. Apparently Tarzan alone is enough for you to completely explode your front line as LNG now starting a 2-man onto Baron, but you know that RNG cannot let this fly. That's what I love about LPL. Regardless of that W nearly killed Gala. Regardless of how many people down you are, you're always gonna fight for Baron as in goes Gala and Xiaohu. Gala having the time of his life, but now there's a huge conclave going on. Baron does go in favor of Tarzan, to be expected, but Gala's kicked right into Light and there isn't much more to say than that. This is a good attempt by RNG. We didn't really expect the play to go in favor of RNG, but like, I mean, it was a good try. It was a good try. Really, there's nothing more to it. As much as we would want to say, oh, Equalizer hitting out onto Light, but unfortunately for him, Light was not low enough for him to take down from that initial tick. In fact, Light doesn't really have any lifesteal items. It's all purely off of runes, I think, that he's getting all his sustain. As in goes Tarzan and Ale. Zhonya's is popped, but Wei's just gonna come out into a death sentence and flay. 5-man down. Mid lane completely taken. In fact, if LNG didn't want to end the game, they could even go down through bot lane. Gala is up here as well, but another kick is available, kicking him away from the fight as he just steps forward with his Gale Force, gets absolutely annihilated by LNG. And very solid game coming out of LNG. Tarzan absolutely taking over that game. It's clear to see in the it's just it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's flawless. It's absolutely pristine. Now, despite the fact that we did finish game one, let's just go into game two, guys. Screw it. Let's see how it goes. 44 minutes? Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's go. Okay, wait. Maybe we stop the stream first and then we go into game two. So at least I have two different recordings.